From drab to fab, tonight our user's guide to the spring real estate market, diving into a backyard makeover to see just how much value it can add to your home. You won't believe the before and after results we found when we hit the road to go to Summit, New Jersey. New Jersey homeowner Michael knew he had a fixer-upper on his hands when he bought this traditional-style home in 2006. A steep backyard made it virtually impossible to use and opened up a whole Pandora's box of flooding and drainage problems inside the house.
We were new homeowners moving out of the city. Some of the problems we saw originally were just some drainage issues, pooling of water in certain areas.
Former home inspector Tom Kraeutler says Michael made the right decision to make over the backyard to keep the water at bay.
Right now we see a lot of beautiful retaining walls. There were much shorter retaining walls before, and there was a much steeper slope. And the slope makes it really difficult to use the backyard. Flooding is an issue because water runs downhill, and in this house it ran downhill and it sat right on the patio, right against the house, and flooded into the house.
In October of 2012, Superstorm Sandy slammed into the East Coast, wreaking havoc on millions of homes, including Michael's. Trees were downed in the back and the front yard, where draining problems quickly became apparent as well.
What they found was that the front stoop wasn't flashed properly into the house. That was one of the sources of water infiltration. And the gutters weren't really extended. And that's a real key with anyone that's got a water infiltration problem. It almost always comes down to roof and gutter control, because that water collects on the roof, runs down those spouts, and typically those spouts are extended out like 1 or 2 feet. Really bad idea. You need to take those out 4, 5, 6 feet away from your house if you want to avoid flooding in your basement.
It was then Michael decided to take action, but this initial budget of $28,000 was spent in a flash.
We were looking to create more playing area and more flat space in the backyard, and that morphed into, hey, why don't we put a bar in and a barbecue.
The added upgrade set the homeowners back by over $52,000, an 85% increase over the initial contract. But Michael says he's pleased with the final results.
For the most part, I think we got our money's worth out of it. In the end, we actually are able to use our play set for the kids, flat playing area for them. We entertain outside, and we really created another room for ourselves.
Now, if you're worried about busting your backyard budget, Tom Kraeutler says hiring a landscape architect is well worth the extra money.
You think about the project creep, and as you see things, you're making changes. Those changes are very expensive, and if you make a mistake along the way, then you're going to end up redoing something. So the small investment in a landscape architect and that planning, I think, is really, really good.
Another budget-wise decision, picking materials that stand the test of time.
Always thinking about the ongoing maintenance is really important. So, for example, choosing composite decking over pressure-treated lumber. A lot of work versus a little work. On the masonry side, making sure that you're putting the materials together so that they drain properly and then they don't spall, which is what happens when the water gets in and freezes and breaks them apart. So execution is important, and the material selection for long-term durability is important.
If viewers at home are considering a backyard makeover, Tom says a back deck is a great place to start.
If you look at a deck in the New York area, just putting a deck on, you know what the return on investment is in that? If you sell your house within 1 year, 100%. And the national average is 80%.
So what about the swimming pool? Everybody talks about the ultimate backyard upgrade. I've always wanted to do it, but is it really worth it when you resell?
You know, I spent 20 years as a home inspector up here, and I got to tell you, as many folks loved those pools as hated those pools. Half the time, my clients would ask me how to fill that pool in. So a very personal decision. If you happen to find a buyer that loves the pool, you're in. But if you have a buyer that maybe has young children, they're concerned about the safety, then it becomes a detriment.
So what's next for these New Jersey homeowners?
We think we have the best bang for our buck outside. The next step really is to do inside the house.